Yeah, this is about a recent event where four Palestinians were killed by Israelis, and they get some Jewish guy on to speak about it, and it's a little
is one of these the guy that pulled the knife out of his own neck and stabbed the Palestinian to death?
I believe so, and there was like an American involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might know the story better than me, but we can take a look.
That was hardcore.
Israeli forces shoot dead
That
a
is hardcore.
Palestinian following alleged stabbing attacks in Tel Aviv, bringing the total number of Palestinians killed on Tuesday to 4. A Palestinian was shot dead in a Jaffa area in Tel Aviv after allegedly stabbing 10 people, one of whom...
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I love when news organizations...
No, you can say that he allegedly moved money. You can say allegedly he committed an act of violence if there were no witnesses. You don't say allegedly stabbed 10 people. That's not usually the statement we make.
They all stab themselves, coincidentally.
It was really confusing. He was the only one with a knife and no wounds. I don't know what happened, but we can't necessarily say he did this. I mean, there's some video, and we saw it happen, but allegedly.
It's all alleged. Jesus.
Died of his wounds. Israeli police say the victim was an American tourist. Earlier, a Palestinian was killed northeast of Tel Aviv after an Israeli was stabbed and injured. Meanwhile, clashes in Jerusalem Al-Quds left 1 Palestinian dead and 2 Israeli soldiers seriously injured.
I note that they like to point that this is 4 Palestinians killed. In reality, it's 4 Palestinians attack Jews and get killed.
Yeah, that should be the actual headline. Yeah,
they're making say 4 attacks from Palestinians.
You would think that the Israeli soldiers went out of their way to kill innocent civilians.
Yeah, this wasn't a method of control. This was you went out and stabbed people and they fucking shot you. Bye.
That's typically what happens when you attack soldiers.
Yeah, bye. I don't even understand the problem here. What are you reporting? You're reporting this is what I hate the phrasing. It really upsets me. The 4 Palestinians killed by Israelis in separate incidences. Like,
it's
no,
word games.
4 Palestinians attack Israelis in separate incidences. That's the headline.
That's what it should be. Yeah, when it comes to events like or controversies like this that are very divisive, if you really pay attention to the language they use, it is word games. They will try to alter it very slightly to kind of to make you as the viewer think a certain way about it, and they intend it's fact and information to frame their narrative, and it's very disturbing and bothering.
Yeah, it is. It's upsetting.
The exchange of fire started shortly after soldiers shot dead a
exchange of fire.
Jerusalem 190.
That means he was shooting too. For fuck's sake.
Certainly does.
He wasn't put down.
They were innocent.
He wasn't
Completely
put down in the street for nothing. He was shooting at the fucking police.
Hey, Hagbard, look. They are an occupied, marginalized minority. You don't understand. It's your Americentric view of the world. You support Israel. You're probably a Christian.
Yeah, I know. I'm a Zionist. That's my favorite.
Zionist.
Yes, I'm a Zionist.
It's funny to me because honestly, I don't even talk about this subject very often. But I'm certainly politicized the state of Israel, and I'm usually against when people will conflate criticism of the state of Israel with anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
However, when it comes to this, Israel is very clearly on not necessarily the good side, but the much better side.
Yeah, well, the issue here is remove all of the rest of the conflation and just understand if someone is coming at you with a knife, regardless of why, if they're coming at you or someone you know or someone you consider kin, and they're going to stab them, and you have a gun, and you shoot them, that's probably the right thing to do.
Oh, no. You're the bad guy because they have the best of intentions. They're freedom fighters.
Mm-hmm.
Unreal.
You should just let them freedom fight.
6 Palestinians
Don't you remember when America was founded and we were guerrilla fighting against the British? Were we bad guys?
Yeah.
They always have to bring up credit.
It's ridiculous. It really is.
It's a clusterfuck. We can keep going, though.
Well, to discuss that further, we're now joined by Rabbi David Feldman, who is
here's where it gets
Associate Director
interesting.
of
Hello.
Israel Party International, and he's joining us
Life
live
of Clavin.
by Skype from New York. Rabbi Feldman, thanks for joining us. How do you feel about the violence that we continue to see
I have felt better!
across the occupied territories?
Well, the violence we see today
Hey, that wasn't far off.
is nothing new. Unfortunately, we see this already for decades. It pains every righteous person when we see bloodshed on both sides of the conflict.
By righteous person, of course he means Jew.
Yes, I'm so pained. Like, do you think this guy's like legitimately pained? Like he heard about this in his study and he was like, no, anything. Who would have thought more violence in Israel?
Yeah, I'm sure he's completely shocked. Well, it's funny because his initial statement is, this is nothing new. So it's old news. And then he goes, but of course, it's of course a bad thing. I mean, it's kind of just how many times do you think he's had to make this statement?
All right, we're bringing on Rabbi What's-His-Face for his weekly address of the violence in the Israeli-Palestine conflict.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's constant. It is literally constant there.
We're making it bi-weekly.
Yes! Someday there will only be a handful of deaths in Israel a day. This I assure you.
The weeping wall soaked in blood.
But
That'd be a
main
good, like,
problem
heavy
is
metal
that
album
we
cover.
For
ignore
real.
And we forget what the root cause of all of this is. We need to remember that all of this is criminal, all of this is wrong from the very beginning. This existence of the state of Israel is anti-God and anti-humanity. According to Judaism, Jewish people are forbidden to create a state of their own. We are in exile, and we are waiting
Okay,
for all
so
people.
hold up. Jews are by far one of the most marginalized and persecuted minorities in human history. And your great solution is to follow your dumb fucking religion and not have a state to protect them. Wow.
Yeah, you know, the Kurds, they're going to be fine. They don't need their own territory. Just let them disperse amongst those those majority Muslim populations, and nothing bad will ever happen to the Kurds. Or the Anakazi Christians. The Anakazi Christians are fine. They're not being persecuted at all due to the fact that they don't have any sort of representation, due to the fact that they're severely minority populations. And no. Just destroy the state of Israel. I'm sure Jordan, Egypt, and Iran will be very kind to the remaining Jews when they divide Jerusalem up.
It's morons like this who advocate for their own self-destruction, who really just get under my skin. Like, this guy has, I'm guessing, a modicum of influence, and that is just one of the worst ideas I have ever heard. And if you believe in protecting Jews in any way, you have to keep the state of Israel together.
Well, and ironically, I just recognized the fact that this asshole's calling into a Jewish TV station in Israel from New York, talking about how Israel is fine. No, go live there. Go back to the motherland and tell me that they don't need walls.
It is that Americentric view of the world, like everywhere's like New York. Everyone's just as accepting and open-minded.
No.
Like, no, it's not like that.
I say, if you honestly don't think that if tomorrow there were no state of Israel, that the people around it would not occupy that territory and we would not be looking at likely another genocide, I don't know how to help you through your world, because that's just, I mean, these are just the next logical steps.
That's why I picked this clip, because this guy's a moron.
Yeah, and I mean, I talked to several people in the Middle East, and Jesus, they even tell me that they are wildly anti-Semitic over there, like to the point where it's laughable. Like, they don't even understand, like, when we talk about, like, the Holocaust, people are like, yeah, Hitler didn't do anything wrong, and it's not an ironic statement, it's not a joke, like, Hitler didn't do nothing wrong. No,
Yeah.
they fucking mean it. They were like, Hitler was just trying to do the right thing. Yeah, he went a little extreme, he could have just kicked him out.
I mean, there's several documentaries about that, the extreme support for the Third Reich among Palestinians and people in the Middle East in general. Hitler, I don't remember the exact quote right now, but he even said that I wish, something along the lines of like, I wish I could find the anti-Semitism in Germany that I could find in Palestine.
Yeah, oh sure.
But I just can't because it hasn't been festering and being harbored as a sacred tradition for centuries in Germany, but it has in the Middle East.
Yeah, it was almost a novel rise in Germany. Well, it passed through Germany with Christianity, Catholicism, and then eventually some of the institutional issues within the state of Germany at the time.
Sure, there's been an anti-Semitic history to Christianity as well, but
They killed
I just don't.
Jesus. Reese, they killed Jesus.
Well, just ask Mel Gibson.
I mean, they deserve anything that happens to them from that point on. They killed the Lord and Savior.
Even though Jesus was a Jew.
No, he was the first Christian. Yeah.
No, he was a white man.
Exactly. He was a white guy.
Redemption, which is purely spiritual. In addition to this, what this happens in Palestine by oppressing an entire people, this is truly criminal. And we cannot accept anything other than catastrophe from this ridiculous movement. Now,
No, stop. What's truly criminal in my mind is advocating for demolishing the state of Israel. Like, if you want a catastrophe, look no further than the hordes of anti-Semitic fucking savages who will ravage those lands.
Yeah, and the issue is that it would be interesting if he were doing this from a Palestinian place. If he were actually in Palestine, that would be something that I'd listen to. But he's, like I said, he's saying this from New York. I mean, he has no idea what it is to live over there.
Yeah, in his cozy little study, safe from the troubles of the world, completely oblivious of the actual nature of this conflict. This is like, I hear people all the time blame it on the West, blame it on Israel. You know, and you probably hear that shit all the time too.
Oh yeah,
but
all day.
This takes it a step further in my mind, that we have a Jew advocating against the state of Israel. Not on any rational grounds, not taking into account the dangers and consequences of that, but because it goes against the religious traditions. That is just lunacy.
Yeah, it's utterly absurd.
That is a recipe for madness and death.
Well, and he doesn't even realize how absurd it is because he's safe. He's protected, relatively speaking. I mean, even
Sure.
within his community of New York, I guarantee he lives in an area of New York that is these little cloistered, predominantly super religious Jews.
Twisted.
Yes,
Yeah.
cloistered.
now people in the entire world, Jewish people the world over, are upset when we see all of this occupation continuing. And we are pained when we see this bloodshed on all sides. This movement
On
of
all
the state of
sides.
Yeah.
You know what should pain you? The fact that your people are hated by hundreds of millions of people within the same region,
Yeah.
and are attacked daily. Maybe that should bother you more. Maybe you shouldn't be like, well, there's violence on both sides. Okay, there's unprovoked violence on one side, and then there's reactionary violence on the other side. How about that? Can we? Is that fair?
My argument would even be that there needs to be a halt in any sort of expansion of Israel. I'm fine with that.
I mean, I've advocated for that on this show. I've said, like, I don't know, it was a while back, we were watching a clip from a Christian evangelist show saying, well, it's called a death sea to overtake the Middle East, and that's wrong. It's just as wrong as saying that the Middle East the rest of the Middle East should take over Israel.
Yeah, which is what would happen.
Yes, undoubtedly. I think we can move on. Fuck this guy.
Fair enough.